Dallas Cowboys take. Ryu and T stuck in traffic. We're gonna do the show. Um, Lucha Libre Oi. Sean might join us. I don't know. We'll see. A little bit laggers right now, but anyways, comment, subscribe, like. This week is Eagle Week, Philadelphia Eagles weekend. Um, we have some haters that were last time we played the Eagles. We had a show that we had some comments from them, and I told them, "Well, wait till we play you guys Christmas Eve." Well, it's here now, and I said we'll be fully healthy, and that was, that's bullshit because we're not fully healthy. So I'm sure after the game, whatever it is, especially if they beat us, they're gonna be all over my ass. But I welcome it. It's fun. I love it. But let's get down to business. Before we get to the Eagles, T and I are gonna go over the last last game, horrible game. Like I don't know about you, but I can't watch. Well, I can, but I have a hard time watching the highlights, and they keep talking about the Cowboys and what happened and this and that, and it's just like it sucks. I mean, what about you? I can't, it's hard for me to do it.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. I feel like I'm not getting paid to do it. I'm not an offensive coordinator. I'll never confuse myself for an NFL caliber offensive coordinator. But sometimes I feel like things are just obvious. And that last series after the fumble with under 2 minutes, I mean, your goal has to be 1 first down or make them use all their timeouts. And if preferably both. And they run a gimmick running play that goes parallel to the line of scrimmage instead of attacking the line of scrimmage. And then they lose 5 yards on first down. So now it's 2nd and 15, cutting down your options. Then they run another gimmick running play, again, parallel to the line of scrimmage, and we're lucky to gain a yard. And now it's 3rd and 14. So on 3rd and 14, you're probably not going to get the first down. But you throw it to a playmaker in open space, a high percentage throw, or a screen, or a running back draw to Pollard, and maybe he breaks a tackle and gets the first down. If not, he gains a few yards, and then they have to use their last timeout, and then you punt it. I mean, they do gimmick running play, and then on 3rd and 14, they throw a low percentage 30, 40-yard pass down the sideline. The receiver has barely any chance to catch it. It's out of bounds almost. I'm just like, what in the hell? Was that Kellen Moore's idea? Was that Dak Prescott's idea? And if it was Kellen Moore's idea, Dak Prescott's a smart enough guy to check down or to do something that's more football IQ.
Yep.
And it's very, very frustrating. And I want to blame Kellen Moore because he's calling the plays, but Dak Prescott here, $50 million quarterback, audible, check down. Like you should know the scenario, the situation, as well as any of the coaches as a starting quarterback. And yeah, it's really frustrating. It's a game we should have won. That being said, credit where credit's due. I mean, Trevor Lawrence just looked really good. Mm-hmm. He looked, the coverage wasn't. I mean, obviously Kelvin Joseph got cooked, but the coverage other than, it wasn't that bad. He was throwing it into very tight windows, and he was getting hit while he was throwing it, and he was just putting the ball on dimes. And the receivers are making good plays too. And I'm just saying, the Jaguars just played good.
Yep.
And hopefully it's not too exposing of our defense. Obviously, our defense has a lot of injuries right now, but they're also the injuries that we're going to have to play with in the playoffs. Jordan Lewis and Anthony Brown aren't coming back. Mm-mm. So we got to play with what we have, and hopefully our defense can fix it going in and start to get more pressure on the quarterback, and linebackers can get healthy. And yeah, it was a frustrating game. The Jaguars, mainly that last fourth quarter, was just absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, that last drive that you're speaking about, it was, and that last play, number one, terrible play. Number two, if you're gonna do that play, probably get it to your number one or number two receiver, or even Dalton Schultz, but you throw it to Noah Brown. I know he had a good game. He had 2 touchdowns. I get it, but
yeah,
in crunch time, that's not who you want to throw it to, right? Shouldn't have done that.
Get it to your money guys, right?
Right, and then if you notice, it was they were all go routes. They all went deep.
They all went. There was nothing.
There's nothing.
So it's a peculiar. It's one of those plays you just think about it. You're like, what the hell were they thinking?
Right. Nobody went underneath. Nobody crossed. I would have took some. What? No check down. So we had to go 13 yards. I would have been okay with someone running 8-yard route and getting the ball and maybe hopefully breaking a tackle. Other than that would be better than what we did. We had nothing but go routes. I was like, what? But you're right. You either want to get a first down or at the very least you make them burn all their timeouts. And we did neither. It was sick. I was telling Lucha Libre,
we went backwards. That's all we did, go backwards.
And I was telling him, like, okay, when you ran these gimmick plays and when you're running out of you have to run the ball because you need to burn the timeouts. And when you're running out of the shotgun, number one, it gives the defense a head start coming forward because you still have to get the ball from the snap from the center in the shotgun. Then you have to hand it off to Zeke.
Running back has no momentum. The running back has no momentum.
Exactly. So I'm telling
they
Joey,
put up a chart. Sorry to interrupt. They put up a chart and they were talking about Jason Peters, Tyron Smith, Zach Martin.
Right.
You got these 3 first ballot Hall of Fame offensive linemen. You got Hendershot, who's been a very aggressive, feisty, blocking tight end. You got other guys. You can bring in extra linemen. You can bring in Josh Ball and just throw in extra offensive linemen and just attack the line of scrimmage. Maybe you only get 1 yard. Maybe you only get 2, but you're not going to go backwards.
Right. So it's to me, I was telling Joyce, like, look, do not go out of the shotgun. Go under center. All right. So because then Zeke's going to get Zeke or Pollard's going to get a full, he's going to come forward versus having to wait for the ball. So he's going to get a head start, right? So you hand it off, no yards. You hand it off 1 yard. And then so it's like chess. If you're an offensive coordinator, you got to think ahead. If we're not going to get the first down because I'm going to keep running it on third down, if I'm coming from underneath the center and I fake and I do a play action, a roll out, somebody might be open. Schultz might be open on the flats. If he's not, Dak can run it. The layers, And then if nobody's open, you tell Dak to slide. You go down, try to get positive yards, and you slide. Make them burn their timeout. But when you go from the shotgun, they know you're going to run. It's not going to work. It's just, and to me, it's all Kellen Moore because I didn't see Dak. And you're right. Dak probably should have said, you know what, I'm going to check out of that shit because that's terrible. And then it also goes to McCarthy too because McCarthy's the head coach. He needs to tell Kellen Moore, look, we need to run on all 3 downs. We need to run the ball. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't.
Or short, like I said, short high percentage passes. Not this deep fucking 30, 40 yard to the sideline. Even if the defender wasn't in perfect coverage, that would have been a tough catch because he was on the side. The ball was almost out of bounds. He would have had to do a toe tap. Right. And I'm just thinking, like, what? I mean, what the hell? I was baffled at that play call and at the decision to throw it. I don't know.
And they knew it was going to be a pass because you basically had an empty set because you had the tight end up front of Dak and you had Pollard in front of Dak saying it's going to be max protection. It's not going to be a handoff. The defense knew that. So they can just, you know what I mean? They can
That's the difference, And that's the difference, I think. Some of these, like Shanahan in San Francisco, right? You put him in that situation and you say, you know what? The defense knows we're going to run the ball. The whole world knows we're going to run the ball. Fuck it. We're going to line up our beasts and we're going to come right at you and you have to stop us. Right. And there's that killer instinct, that aggression that we're not going to try to get cute and try to go around you. No, we're going to come right at you and you have to stop us. And the 49ers do it. We'll see the Ravens do it when they have Lamar Jackson healthy. And, you see some of these aggressive teams do it. The Eagles do it this year. And we don't. We don't have that killer, like, we're going to run it and you're not going to stop us anyway. And we're still going to run it down your throat. And we don't have that mentality from our coaching staff down. So I know that we have the players to do it. We just, we don't have the coaching to do it.
Right. Kellen Moore. I'm not the only one, but everybody's like, this guy's got to go. This guy's terrible.
Yeah. And everyone, a lot of the analysts, they like to praise Kellen Moore because, the Cowboys have had the number 1 scoring offense of the last 3 seasons or whatever, or number 1 in yards the last 3. For me, it's not about yards and points. It's about, in that situation, when you need to get 1 first down to win the game, what 3 plays are you going to call to win the game?
Yep.
And he called 3 wrong plays. He was 0 for 3.
Right.
And that's my criticism of him, and that's why he's not the offensive coordinator that some of these other analysts say he is.
Yeah, right. We're number one offense. All that's great, but when it comes down to situational football, comes down to crunch time, you're right. Is he calling the right plays? Is he thinking ahead? Like, I'm gonna run it anyways. I got 3 downs to try to kill the clock and try to burn their timeouts. Does he do the right thing? No. And then even if he knows, there's been times in the games where we know we're gonna go for it on fourth down, and then we go for it on fourth
Yeah,
down, and that's your fourth down play. That's the play. That's your fourth down. Like, do you have a fourth down play? Because that looked like shit. Like, his
yeah.
situational football is just terrible.
There was another thing I wanted to bring up. References offensive coordinator. So they ran the same play out of the same formation 5 times in this game, and 3 of them were in a row where they had the wide trips bunch. Quarterback was in shotgun, and they did a little running back draw
Mm-hmm.
with no tight ends. You had 3 trips bunched to one side, and you had a split out receiver on the other side, one running back, and they did that 5 times, and it didn't work any of the 5 times. And the last time they ran it, I'm thinking, well, no shit, they stopped it because they've seen it 5 times already. I'm just like, I don't know. That just it was baffling. It was, yeah, like you said, it was tough to watch.
You know,
And
I might have missed all those 5 because what happened was I had shit to do, so I recorded it, and that's why I wasn't responding to the chats because I didn't want to
yeah,
hear. I turned my phone off because I didn't want to hear what was going on. So I get home
right,
and
yeah,
I'm so I try to catch up to the game, and then it's 27-10. I'm like, all right, cool, we got this. You know what I mean? And then I'm like, I'm just gonna check the score online and see what the score was because I'll be able to, look.
yeah.
I'll be able
So
to watch
that's
it a little later. And then I saw it and we lost in overtime. I'm like, what the fuck happened? How does
that,
that
that's
happen?
that was another critique I made in the chat during the game when the Jacksonville Jaguars were building that momentum and they were scoring. I thought to myself, I was like, okay, how do you? Their fans started getting all excited. I was like, how do you slow down another team's momentum? How do you quiet down their fans? You run the ball.
Right.
Right? You run it to slow down the game. Get their fans to chill. Run some clock out. They're on a groove right now. They're on a hot one. They're on a hot streak. Okay, let's slow it down. And the Cowboys went straight to the pass. Dak Prescott gets sacked, and they try. I think they might have tried to run it after that. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's when the interception came. Right, the interception came next, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, why are they not running the football? The running game was actually successful for the most part. I think
Right.
combined they averaged 5 yards a carry or something
Yeah.
or close to it.
Yeah. We had like
So
130 something. I think it was 152 something like that rushing combined. So
yeah,
it's like,
yeah. And so I was like, and I don't know if they like Kellen Moore was like, oh, okay, we're gonna be in a shootout, so I'm gonna call these pass plays and prove that Dak Prescott's better than Trevor Lawrence or something. I don't know what the deal was, but they were gaining momentum, and then Kellen Moore called plays that increased their momentum that they were able to build off of. It's like, dude, you need to learn how to, like, even in basketball, right? They have a momentum timeout. When the team starts to get hot, the other
yeah.
coach will call timeout to try to slow them down. Like, all right, hey, they're hot right now. Timeout, timeout. Let's cool them off.
Right.
In football, you don't call timeouts. You only have 3. You run the ball to slow it down. And I don't know. It was very disappointing game from a play calling standpoint. I mean the offense had a good game. They scored 34 points. So
Right.
that's a good game. Um, but two interceptions by Dak. The second one, that hit Brown right in the hand.
Right in the
He's got to
hands,
catch
dude.
that.
And I was
And people will say that was a bad pass, and I actually don't think it was a bad pass. He was
no.
throwing it low. I think he was throwing it low to protect his receiver because there was the defenders were closing in on him. So if he threw it high, his receiver's going to get hit. He's going to drop the ball. So
Yeah.
he threw it low to try to protect his receiver, and he just let it go off his
Yeah.
arms.
I
And
was all Noah
yeah,
Brown. But I was looking
yeah,
at the stats, and before Dak threw his first interception, he had like 4 incompletions. He already had 3 touchdowns and 4 incompletions. That guy was having a
he was
good
killing it.
game. He was killing it.
He was.
And then
He was killing it.
when he threw that first interception, I watched it and I rewound and rewound. I'm like, he stepped into the pocket and he stepped to the right. He didn't have to. Zach
He
Martin
didn't have to.
he didn't have to. He could have stood where he was at and threw the ball, but for some reason he stepped up to the right, and then
I think
Peter's
he needed
man
to. Yeah,
Peter's
he
man was
needed to
right
step
there.
up. Yeah, he needed to step up, but he didn't need to scramble.
Right,
He like scrambled to the right.
right.
All he had to do was take one step forward and reset himself, and he'd have been fine.
That's all he had. So I think that interception pretty much cost that was the beginning and the end. That right there
Yeah,
for me.
yeah,
But I mean that plastic. I don't want to blame Dak. You're like you don't think Dak saw that, and sometimes he is, sometimes he isn't. But he was having a great game. That pass to Henderson shot was great. But I mean, but when it comes down to it, you're kind of right. This guy's, we're when he drops back to pass, we're afraid he's gonna throw an interception. Like, can we trust this guy?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is it 10 interceptions and 10 interceptions in
Right.
8 games or whatever?
So if this guy's doing it, don't you think you'd run the ball a little more, especially when you're having success? Don't you think
You,
play action is going to work better for Dak? Don't you think rollouts? Because when he's rolling out and he's on the move, he's very good. He's very good.
we got when Ferguson, even when Ferguson wasn't playing this week, but when he's healthy, we have 3 good tight ends
Right.
who can run those intermediate routes, those short routes, and break tackles and get yards after catch. And we have Pollard who can do it. Zeke can do it. Zeke's a good receiving running back. He gets overshadowed because Pollard's so good at receiving.
Yeah.
But Zeke was considered an all-around running back those first 3 years of his career. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run. Obviously, he can block. And he can still do those things. We have all these guys. CeeDee Lamb is great in the short field and then getting them into open space. Utilize that, man. I don't know. It's tough. That's a tough one. And
So, all right. So I don't want to talk about the offense anymore because it's that it is what it is, and they did good, and then Dak screwed up and blah blah blah. But let's talk. Let's talk about the defense. And okay, so injuries happen, injuries occur, and that's what we're dealing with right now. But our defense gave up 34 points. And, the pick six was an additional 6, but our defense gave up 34 points. Like, in your opinion, what's wrong with our D?
oh man, combination of injuries, of the Texans just being hot at the right time. The Texans are hot right now. I don't know if you look at their numbers, especially Trevor Lawrence's numbers over the past like 5 or 6 games. Trevor Lawrence has been killing it. He's like top 5, top 10 in every single passing category.
Yeah.
And so he's been crushing it, and he can run. I feel like as far as the pressure goes, we only got 1 sack, but we hit him multiple times, and he would break the tackle and scramble out. Or, the one he fumbled, right? That was a sack. And Sam Williams just got slipped right off them.
Yep.
So we were getting decent amount of pressure. It just didn't phase him. He was nailed. And, maybe some of these analysts, Colin Cowherd, maybe some of these guys are right about him. He's an ascending star in the league, and he's got a great offensive-minded head coach, Doug Peterson, and they're hot right now. The Jags are hot right now, and they played us. And I'm not making excuses, but they played us as we're kind of we stumbled against the Texans, and we got a bunch of injuries. And it's not just who's hurt; it's key players hurt, like Anthony Brown or Dorrance Armstrong, who's our second best pass rusher. Or we just brought in Hankins to help against the run, and he goes down.
Yep.
LVE got hurt in the first quarter of the game, and he's a lot of people don't like him because he's not like a star, but he's a very solid, consistent piece of our defense. And when he's not there, it shows.
Yep.
So this is injuries, and then I can't really. I think against the Texans, our defense played off. They disrespected the Texans by not rushing the passer, not playing. They weren't playing tight coverage on the receivers. Against the Jaguars, I don't think that was the case. I just think the Jaguars just outperformed our guys 100%. That's all it was. I hope it's a wake-up call between the Texans game and this game. I hope it's a wake-up call. Philly, even with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, Philly is a good team, a good offense. And Gardner Minshew is a very capable backup quarterback.
Yeah.
So I don't see them without Hurts and now we're gonna win for sure. No, I don't see it that way.
No. I think our defense right now, as you notice, as you can tell, when we lost Hankins and when we lost Brown, we started to decline, and that's one guy in the second in the backfield, and that's one guy in the D line that stops the run. Now
Yeah.
we're giving up yards again. So
Yeah.
when I said that Brown was a big loss, it's not because he's a shutdown corner. It's not because he doesn't get burnt. He's always in position. You know, he'll give up a touchdown here and there. It was a big loss to me because he's in position. He knows where to go. For instance, if you watch the game, Hooker and sometimes Donovan Wilson, they're shading over to Calvin Joseph's side because they know they have to help him. So now they're out of position. Yeah. Like they have to shade over. Right. And now where they're supposed to be, they're not there. So now where they're supposed to get here, they're a little bit late. So with Brown, they don't have to worry about that. He's gonna be in the right position. He's gonna try to make that play. He might get burnt for a TD or whatever. He might give, but he's going to be there, and they don't have to worry about that. And that's what's going on right now. Our safeties are shading over to cover for this guy. Meanwhile, they don't even throw to his side; they throw to the other side. But our safeties are out of position now. So I thought that's why it was. And he's, you know, like I said, he's a solid corner, and he's good for our defense. He's not a world beater. He's not great. He's just good for our defense. You know what I mean?
I agree. I agree.
And I think Calvin Joseph, he's not a zone corner. And when he's a man corner, and I've been talking shit about him, blah blah, he sucks. If he was to get up, because I've watched tape on him, if he was to get up on the receiver and he jams him, that's where he's at his best. But when he's playing 10 yards off, that's where he sucks as a man corner. He needs to get up and jam, and he's a lot better that way. So I know there's open competition now. I know that somebody might. I personally think Bland should probably go to the outside, and then that what's his name that we picked up from Atlanta? I think he should go to slot corner. I don't know. We'll see. And then, like I said, Hankins, he's a run stopper.
Yeah,
you know, we got him in there. We started doing good against the run, so I don't want to blame on injuries, but it has a lot to do with our injuries, man. We lost our two out of our three starting corners. Jordan Lewis a while ago, and now we lost Brown.
That's one of the and like I said, these players, and you're right in the sense it's huge for me. It's a huge loss because of all the other players we've lost. Right. Like if we have our completely healthy defense and we lose Anthony Brown, it's not really a huge loss, right? You can bump Jerron Bland to the outside and let Lewis play in the inside, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we lose Lewis. Right, and then we lose Brown, and then we lose Hankins, and we lose Dorrance Armstrong, then we lose Leighton Vander Esch, then we lose, then Jaron Curse gets a little dinged up, or Donovan Wilson gets a little dinged up, and it's just, it's one after another. Trayvon Diggs hurt his hand against the Texans, so it adds up, and that's what makes not having Anthony Brown. Because you're right, him being a veteran and a solid corner, you don't have to worry about him. And this, like you said, the safeties can play more freely. But now that the safeties have to shade over and help this guy, we're getting exposed in other areas. And it showed. No, it definitely showed against Jacksonville.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll see if he keeps the spot. I don't know. Nahshon Wright, he went in there and looked like he got concussed. But I think he's okay now. Luckily, Vander Esch is okay. Is not as bad as we thought. But we got
the thing about these guys too is, like, I know, like, Nahshon Wright, Anthony Brown's also not very good against the run. These guys aren't good at. They're not good at coming up and tackling, big running backs against the run. So because they're smaller. Nahshon Wright's tall, but I think he's only like 180 pounds.
Yeah, he's like 6'4", 183, whatever it is. But speaking of tackling, in that overtime position, when Hurts had Zay Jones, and he let him get out of bounds. I'm just saying, bro, you're too high. All you gotta do is go down to his legs, and he's gonna fall.
That's part of the fact that that was one of those examples of they just outplayed us. They outperformed us on defense. Like, that's one of our better defenders.
Right.
And what's his name? Zay Jones had an amazing game. He just played really well. And sometimes you just have to, like, tip your hat and say, hey, he just beat us.
We knew that going in.
So
we knew that going in. Lawrence was on fire. He was hot. We knew that going in. So we didn't do a show last week, but I was telling my buddy of mine, he was thinking about taking the Cowboys. I said, don't take the Cowboys, take Jayville. I think we're gonna win, but we're not gonna cover because
trap game.
because of Lawrence, he's on fire right now. And I was completely wrong. We fucking lost. But what we
And
got
even
going
still, all that said and done, I feel like if Kellen Moore calls the second half the way he did the first half, we would have beat them. It would have been a 3-score game.
Right.
It would have been a 3-score game. And he changed his offensive game plan for no reason, because what he did in the first half worked. He changed it up, and he was never able to get momentum back.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. And then to end the first half, when we had to settle for a field goal, I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
10. All right, we should be good. Like everybody says, all the analysts, everybody, ESPN, whatever, they always say, if the Cowboys have a lead, you're in trouble because that defense can get after you. Well, we had a lead, 17 points. We had a lead, and we didn't get after them.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a combination of before when we were 100% healthy, our DBs were able to cover long enough so that our D line would get there, and we get a lot of sacks. We were leading the lead in sacks. Now we're second behind the Philly.
I think something I noticed too with Micah Parsons is they're letting him just go one-on-one with the tackles. They've been doing this for the past, I think, probably 6 or 7 weeks. They just let him go one-on-one. And, early in the season, when he's got fresh legs, fresh arms and shoulders, and he's not in pain, he's faster, he can use his strength, but we have to keep in mind that he's a smaller, if he's playing defensive end, he's smaller. If he's a good size for a linebacker, but for a DN, he's small. And I think we're starting to see his size kind of catching up with him, doing all this one-on-one work with these bigger offensive tackles. When your knees start hurting, when your ankles and shoulders start hurting because you're going up against guys that are 100 pounds heavier than you, you're not going to be as fast. You're not going to be as explosive. And I think they need to start throwing in some stunts and some, getting more creative with how they blitzed him. When he got his sack against Jacksonville, they did a stunt inside with him.
Yeah.
They might have to start doing that again to get him in space rushing.
So do you think
the one-on-one tackles are hurting him?
So do you think with Van Der Esch out, they should play him more at linebacker this week?
In my opinion, I think Anthony Barr is a liability at linebacker. And so, yeah, I do. I think Parsons needs to go back to linebacker.
Yeah, I think for this week or until Van Der Esch gets back, I think I'm going to get a prediction from Sean right now. I think that they should probably, for this week at least, probably put him back at linebacker. Because you're right, Anthony Barr is a liability, and I heard they're gonna Jabril Cox is gonna have to step up, but maybe put him back at linebacker, and you're still gonna use him against the pass rush. You're still gonna use him on stunts. You're still gonna use him on blitz, and you can still put him on the line, a few plays here and there, But I think
third long, third whatever. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think so too.
And do you know if Armstrong's okay? He's gonna play, right?
So when I saw his injury, he hyperextended his knee, but it never bent in the wrong direction or anything. So I haven't seen any updates on him, but I think at worst they hold him out for a game just to make sure he stays healthy. But I mean, we clinched playoffs, so there's no reason to risk it if it's not 100%.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to put Sam Williams out there, DN or Fowler, and then let Micah Parsons go back to linebacker for at least one game. You know what I mean? Might have to do that. We'll see. But let's get into the Eagles real quick. We have about 6 minutes left. In your opinion, and they do a lot of things well, but what do the Eagles, and with or without Hurts? I mean, what do the Eagles do well that you see? Like, what do we have to worry about? Even without Hurts, because Hurts is not going to play. So with Minshew in there, what do we still have to worry about?
Their rushing attack and their offensive creativity, the way they their pre-snap motion, the way they get AJ Brown, they set him up in a way that it exposes a weaker part of our defense. They're not just going to put AJ Brown on the left and let him go against Trayvon Diggs all day. They're going to move him into the slot, so he's going up against Bland. They're going to put him on whoever our new corner is on the other side. They're going to put him up there, and then Devontae Smith. He's a bad matchup for Trayvon Diggs. He's like a short, shifty but also vertically good speed receiver, and that's not Trayvon Diggs' strong suit. Trayvon Diggs is better against the taller, more the bigger receivers, and it's just a matchup nightmare. They are, and they got Dallas Goedert coming back healthy.
Yep.
So they got their tight end back, and they have just a phenomenal offensive line. So Minshew doesn't have to do much.
No.
He just needs to be a game manager, and they'll be fine. And then they have one of the best defenses in the league.
Dude, there's okay. We took the lead in turnovers. Now we lead the league in turnovers. They lead the league in sacks. So I mean, they're
switched. Yeah,
we switched. They're top 3 defense. So their D line and their offensive line fucking solid, dude. 2 of the best in the NFL. The secondary,
they're very healthy.
Right, and their 2 corners are probably could be the top 3 tandem in the freaking NFL. So
I would put them as the best. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the running back is no slouch too. He can run the ball too, and like they're gonna miss something without Hurts because he runs way too much. That's why he got hurt. But they do everything
but Minshew
well.
can move. Minshew can move too. He's obviously no Hurts, but he can move.
Right. Yeah.
So
exactly. So I mean, we can get more in depth with them, but I don't want to because I don't like talking about the Eagles. But I will give them props. They do everything well. And then like I was saying to Joe here, look, the reason why the Eagles are there at where they're at right now, they drafted really well. I mean, and they traded. Offseason they got Brown. You know what I mean? And then they got they got Darius Slay a couple years ago. Then they got Bradbury this year. It's like, bro, like their GM is doing
making moves.
Making moves.
Yeah, they're not playing money ball. They're playing Super Bowl ball.
Right. They want to win. They want to win now. And it looks that way. I personally, I think Mahomes for MVP, Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. I would go with Mahomes over Jalen Hurts, but I wouldn't mind Jalen Hurts winning MVP because if he's MVP, that means they got to pay him a lot of money, and I want them to use all. I want him to get paid, use a shitload of their cap. They need pay him, let him be the top paid.
I want him to be the highest paid quarterback.
Yeah, that's what I want. Let him be the highest paid quarterback. So I'm hoping he gets MVP. Usually you'd be like, I don't want an Eagle to be MVP. No, I want him to because it'll hurt him later on down the line as far as the salary cap goes. So hopefully he gets MVP. But I would choose Mahomes over him. But especially now because he got injured, so it might go that way. We'll see. But shit, man, we're gonna go to all important prediction time. I got Sean on here. He said now that Jalen Hurts, he was going to go with Philly before Jaden got hurt, and he's going 27-24 Cowboys. So he's saying the Cowboys are going to win 27-24. I don't Lucha Libre Boy. He's probably sleeping. I don't know what he's up to, but he didn't give me his prediction. But I'm going to go with you, T. With Hurts being out, what's your prediction?
I think Minshew has a moment, and they're going to take advantage of the Cowboys while they're not at their strongest. And I know that's an excuse, and we used it last time. I think the Cowboys' offense will be better this week or this time around, but I think our defense is in a bad way right now. So I'm going to say I'm actually going to say a Minshew moment. It's going to be 31-28 Philly, and it's going to come down to the wire.
Well, I'm with you. My score is a little different, but I'm with you. I think they're relatively healthy, except for Hurts. Now that Hurts got hurt, but other than that, they're healthy everywhere else, and we're not.
They're healthy.
Our defense is banged up, and I think you're right. I think Mitchell's, he used to be starter in Jayville, so he knows what he's doing, and he can move a little bit. He's not a runner, but he can move. So I think you're right. I think Mitchell's going to be, he's going to take advantage of that and take advantage of our banged up defense with Jabril Cox playing or Micah being, linebacker. It's not one of those games like, oh, now the spread went from 1 to 6. Everybody thinks Cowboys are going to win now. It's like, don't be, not so fast. So my prediction is, I think their defense is going to really bother us. And I think it's going to be 27-23 Philly, unfortunately. But before we get out of here, like I told you guys, they beat us twice. And if we face them a third time, the percentage is with us because it's hard to beat a team 3 times in one season. So if they beat us, so be it. We're already in the playoffs. We face them a third time, percentage is on our side. It's tough to beat a team 3 times in one season. So we'll see. So either way, T and I got a loss for the Cowboys. Sean has a win for the Cowboys. I don't know what Lucha Libre Hoy has, but we'll be back next week. We'll talk about it. T showed up today. He's the only one that showed up, so I appreciate that. But we'll see you guys. Dallas Cowboys take myself, T, and